How does a man react when he finds out the love of his life, his wife of 10 years, is not who he thought she was? I'm standing here watching the rain streak down the window of our Chicago apartment, and all I can think is, how did I not see it sooner? The lies, the excuses, the little signs that screamed betrayal. It all started with a simple observation, something so small I almost dismissed it. But it was the thread that unraveled everything, leading me down a rabbit hole of deceit that would shatter my world and forge a new, colder man from the pieces. My wedding ring was always in its drawer, but hers. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from. It was a small thing, really. Every Friday morning, Jessica would get ready for her girls' night. She'd spend an hour on her makeup, pick out a dress that was a little too nice for a casual get-together, and right before she left, her wedding ring would come off. She'd place it in the porcelain dish on her nightstand, claiming she was afraid of losing it. For months, I bought it. Why wouldn't I? She was Jessica, my Jessica. The woman I'd met at a bustling cafe near Millennium Park. The one who laughed so hard she snorted. The one I promised my life to. But the excuses started getting thin. The girls' nights became more frequent, her explanations more vague. She'd come home late, smelling of a perfume that wasn't hers, and a faint scent of expensive cologne. She'd become distant, her phone always face down, a new password she forgot to tell me about. When I'd try to talk to her, to bridge the growing gap between us, she'd turn it around on me. "You're being paranoid," she'd snap, her voice dripping with an arrogance I'd never heard before. Her words were like tiny, sharp needles, each one puncturing a hole in my confidence. Was I paranoid? Was I the problem? I started doubting myself, my own sanity. I loved her, and love makes you blind. It makes you want to believe the beautiful lies over the ugly truth. But the truth has a way of clawing its way to the surface. The first real clue was a receipt I found in her coat pocket. It was from a fancy Italian restaurant in River North, dated for a Friday night she was supposedly at a book club. The bill was for two, with 2 entrees and a very expensive bottle of wine. I confronted her with it, my hands shaking. She didn't even flinch. She just laughed, a cold, dismissive sound. "Oh, that. Yeah, Sarah's boyfriend joined us last minute. You're making a big deal out of nothing." She was so smooth, so convincing. For a moment, I almost believed her. But the doubt was a seed, and it had taken root. I started digging. I know it was wrong, but my world was tilting on its axis. I needed to know if I was going crazy. One night, while she was in the shower, I managed to get into her phone. My heart pounded against my ribs as I scrolled through her texts. And there it was. A thread with a contact named Mark. The messages were sickening. Explicit photos, plans for secret meetings, little inside jokes that made my stomach churn. They talked about me. They called me the ball and chain. He'd text her things like, "Can't wait to have you all to myself this Friday," and she'd reply. The name Mark rang a bell. Mark Reynolds, slick, arrogant portfolio manager from her firm. I'd met him once at a company party, had a smug grin and a handshake that was too firm, like he was trying to prove something. He looked me up and down that night, a flicker of contempt in his eyes. Now I knew why. He was sleeping with my wife. That night, something inside me broke. I sat on our living room floor, surrounded by the life we had built, and I felt nothing but a cold, hollow emptiness. The pain was so immense it was paralyzing. For 2 days, I was a ghost in my own home. Jessica barely noticed. She was too busy on her phone, smiling at secrets that weren't mine. On the 3rd day, the grief curdled into something else, something cold and sharp. Rage. She thought I was a fool. Mark thought he had one. They were laughing at me in our bed, in restaurants I couldn't afford, spending money I helped earn. They were wrong. They had underestimated the man they tried to break. My plan began to form. This wasn't just about divorce anymore. This was about justice. I became a different person. I played the part of the clueless, loving husband perfectly. I made her breakfast, told her she looked beautiful, and bit my tongue until it bled every time she lied to my face. Meanwhile, I was gathering my arsenal. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop who knew Chicago's dirty secrets. It was expensive, but worth every penny. He got me everything. Photos of Jessica and Mark checking into the Langham Hotel off the Chicago River every Friday afternoon. GPS data, copies of their hotel receipts paid for with Mark's corporate card, a clear violation of his company's policy. The PI even managed to get audio recordings from outside their hotel room door. Their laughter, their whispers, every sound was another nail in their coffins. The final piece of the puzzle was financial. Jessica had been siphoning money from our joint savings account for months, funneling it into a secret account of her own. I got the bank statements. The evidence was irrefutable. She wasn't just cheating, she was a thief. The stage was set for their ruin. I chose the date carefully. Mark's annual performance review and promotion announcement at his prestigious investment firm. It was the biggest day of his career. I also knew that Jessica's parents, who adored me and had helped us with the down payment on our apartment, were flying in that same weekend for what she told them was a surprise anniversary party for us. The day arrived. I felt a chilling calm. That morning, I made Jessica her favorite breakfast, French toast. "You seem happy today," she said, pecking me on the cheek before heading out, her wedding ring safely on the nightstand. "I am," I replied, and for the first time in months it wasn't a lie. At precisely 10 a.m., as Mark was sitting in a boardroom full of his company's executives, an email was delivered to every single one of them, including the CEO and the head of HR. The subject line was simple: regarding Mark Reynolds' misuse of corporate funds. Inside was a neatly compiled dossier. The hotel receipts, the photos of him and Jessica, transcripts of their conversations about their affair during work hours, and a detailed summary of how he was using company resources to facilitate his infidelity. Simultaneously, another email went out. This one was to Jessica's entire office, including her boss. It contained the photos, the explicit texts, and evidence of her stealing from our joint account. But I saved the most personal blow for last. I waited for Jessica's parents to arrive at our apartment, their faces beaming with excitement for the surprise party. I sat them down on the sofa, the same sofa where Jessica had lied to me for months. I didn't raise my voice. I just calmly handed them a folder. Inside was everything. The photos of their daughter with another man, the bank statements showing her theft. Her father's face went pale. Her mother started to cry, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. Just then, Jessica walked in, a shopping bag in her hand, a triumphant smile on her face. Her smile vanished when she saw her parents' faces and the open folder on the coffee table. Her phone started buzzing incessantly. It was her boss, then her colleagues, then Mark. Her world was imploding in real time. "What is this?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "This," I said, my voice as cold as Lake Michigan in January, "is the truth." The aftermath was brutal. Mark was fired immediately, his career in finance utterly destroyed. He was facing a lawsuit from his company for misuse of funds. He became a pariah. Jessica was also fired, not for the affair, but for the reputational damage and the evidence of theft I provided. Her parents were disgusted. They cut her off completely. She was left with nothing. No job, no money, no family, and certainly no Mark, who dropped her the second the scandal broke. She tried to fight me in the divorce, but it was hopeless. I had the evidence. She walked away with nothing but her clothes and the shame of her actions. I sold the apartment and moved away from the city. I don't feel joy. I don't feel satisfaction. I won, but I destroyed a part of myself to do it. And some nights the silence is louder than her lies ever were. The end.